Today in our 2013 Ram 1500, we'll be having a look at and installing the CURT Double Lock Flip and Store Underbed Gooseneck Hitch with Installation Kit, part number C60730. Now here's what our gooseneck looks like installed. As you can see, it's an underbed system, which means all the critical components are underneath the truck, giving us full access to our truck bed and not losing any of our valuable bed space. We have these nice, easy to use, spring-loaded safety chain loops so that we can easily hook our chains on from our trailer. They'll automatically retract when you let go of them. The unique feature about this gooseneck hitch compared to other underbed hitches on the market is that our ball is kept in place by a double pin feature. This gives it more strength and stability and offers you more security. Our ball has a groove on it right here, so you can easily line it up, and then the pins will hold it in place when you release your handle. What's great about this system, when you're not towing your trailer and you release your handle, you can grab your ball, flip it on over, use the handle, lower it on down, and it's stored in the gooseneck hitch and doesn't take up any of your bed space. We also have this nice plug here, which keeps dirt and debris out when we're not towing our trailer and gives us a nice clean look. Now this system is rated for a 30,000 pound gross trailer weight rating and a 7,500 pound vertical load limit. However, since this is a half-ton truck, this truck is not capable of towing that much. So make sure you follow your owner's manual and don't exceed what your truck is rated for. Now to unlatch our double pin lock, the nice feature about this, we can just grab the handle, pull it all the way out, rotate it clockwise, and it'll lock itself open, so one person is needed just to swap the ball around. You don't need to have a second person to hold the handle while you swap it out inside the bed. Once you're done, grab the handle, turn counterclockwise, and it's spring loaded and will close back. Now to begin our install, we need to make a couple of measurements. Now when we tape these measurements, we need to make sure that we're taking them from the end of the bed and not the end of our tailgate. You'll find the measurement that you need to get in the instructions according to your bed length. Now that we measure the depth, we'll measure across our bed from side to side to make sure our mark is centered. Okay, now we will drill a small pilot hole where our mark is. Where our pilot hole is, we will now use the appropriate size hole saw as indicated in the instructions to enlarge the hole. Okay, now we'll clean up our metal shavings really quick. Okay, since we have an exposed metal edge now where there's no paint, where we cut out the hole in our bed, it's a good idea to use some paint to help cover that up so we don't have to worry about rust in the future. Now since we don't have a bed liner in this truck and we don't have matching paint, just use Clearcoat. It'll protect it and you don't have to worry about the paint not matching. Here we are on our driver's side wheel well. Our passenger side wheel well is the exact same. If your truck is equipped with a wheel liner like ours is, you will need to remove it. We have a total of 11 screws just like this one. They're 8mm that we'll need to remove in order to pull this down. Once we have all 11 screws out, we can grab a corner of the liner and start to pull it out. It'll drop. Then you can spin it and it will come out. Now on our driver's side wheel well, we have a wiring harness that's clipped to the frame. We'll need to unclip it. From the outside, we can easily get to 3 of the clips. We have one right here that we'll use a trim panel tool on. Just pop it up. Get a second one here. And we'll get this third one as well. Now underneath the vehicle, Looking at the driver's side frame rail, we'll find another clip for wiring harness that we need to undo just behind our gas tank. We have another one here on our driver's side that's between our two cross members in the frame. Okay, this tube right here is for the vent for the breather on our rear differential. It's clipped to our frame. We'll grab it, unclip it, pull it down, and let it hang for the time being. Now we will continue unclipping our breather hose for the rear differential from the cross member that's right above the axle. Just push it towards the rear of the truck, and it'll come down. Now there's a wiring harness that's on the cross member. There's several clips that hold it in place. Find the clip. We'll unclip them. Once we have it all the way unclipped, we'll push it towards the back of the truck so it's not over the cross member anymore. Now to ease our install, give us a little bit more room to work, I'm going to remove both of our rear tires. Now that we have our wheels off, we can give you a better idea of what's going to happen. This is the upper control arm for our truck. Here's our frame. We're going to install our rear rail in this triangular area right here above our control arm, between the frame and in front of our shock on the passenger side. We'll go up over the exhaust like this. Then it'll go over and rest on top of the frame on our driver's side. And then we will push it back and it'll go above our cross member here. All right, this is our rear rail. This notch here goes towards the driver's side and we want it to face towards the back of the truck as we install this. Okay, with the cross member over the driver's side frame, we'll raise it up on the passenger side and slide it back so both ends are resting on the frame and it's parallel with our rear axle. Now we'll slide our cross member back until it is over the cross member of our frame. Once it's over the cross member of our frame, we'll rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, once we have our cross member pushed back so it's above the cross member in our frame, we need to rotate it 90 degrees so our notch faces down. Now this notch is there so we can pass our wiring harness through, and if our vehicle is equipped with dual exhaust such as ours, there's an exhaust hanger which has bracketry which will go through that notch as well. Now we're ready to raise our center section up into our vehicle. But if your vehicle has dual exhaust like ours, in order to gain adequate clearance, it will be significantly easier if we remove our tailpipe section on the driver's side. We have an exhaust hanger towards the rear. We'll spray some lubricant on it. Once it's lubricated, we can use a pry bar to pry it off. Here we have a second hanger right above our rear axle. So we'll lubricate that one, pry it off. Now we'll loosen up the clamp that's at our muffler. It's a 15mm nut. Okay, with the clamp loosened, we can now wiggle the tailpipe section on out of the muffler. Now with an extra set of hands, we'll raise our center section on up The holes here that are offset will be closer to the rear of the truck. We'll now push our rear rail against our center section. Okay, now we'll take an 1.5 inch long, 1/2 inch bolt, lock washer, 1/2 inch flat washer, and we will bolt our center section to our rear rail using the outermost holes only in our center section. We're just going to have this finger tight for right now. Okay, now we'll just snug these down a little bit, but still leave them a little loose for final adjustments. Okay, this is our front cross member. See how it's an angle bracket with a 90-degree angle? We want to have the very tip of it, the point, facing up, with the holes facing towards the rear of the truck, and we'll slide it onto our frame in the same manner that we did the rear. Then we'll slide it back so it touches our center section. Then we'll take it and rotate it so the holes line up and the flat section's against the bed of the truck. Okay, now we'll take a 1/2 inch by 1.5 inch long bolt again. Take a lock washer, flat washer, and we'll go through our centermost holes in our center section and our front rail. On the back side, we'll thread on a flange nut. Right, now we will work on installing our side plates. We'll start on our passenger side first. We'll take our U-bolt and we'll slide it in between our spring and our spring seat right here over our frame. Okay, now we'll take our side plate, drop it over our exhaust, and make sure our U-bolt goes through it. And now we'll secure it with our hex flange nuts. All right, now we'll take our 2 1/4 inch long bolt, a lock washer, and a flat washer, and we'll go through our side bracket on the passenger side. This will connect our side bracket, our center section, and our front cross member together. And we'll put a flange nut on the inside. All right, now we'll take our 1.5 inch long, 1/2 inch bolt, lock washer, flat washer, and we'll bolt our side bracket to our front cross member. And we'll put a flange nut on the other side. All right, our driver's side, there's only one part that's the same, and that's installing our U-bolt between our spring and our spring perch. Everything else is different past this point. Okay, our driver's side frame bracket consists of 2 pieces. This is the first piece that needs to go on. These 2 holes here are where our U-bolt will go through. These holes here will connect with our cross member and center section. So we'll slide our bracket in place over our brake lines and wiring harness using the notch provided. And make sure our U-bolt goes through the bracket like that. Okay, this is our second side plate. We'll slide this over the first one and onto our U-bolt. Okay, so now we have both our side plates over our U-bolt and they're stacked together. Now we'll throw it on our flange nuts. Okay, now we'll bolt our side plates, our center section, and our front cross member together through this hole using our 2 1/4 inch long bolt, lock washer, and a flat washer. And we'll finish it off with a flange nut. Okay, now we'll take an 1.5 inch long bolt, lock washer, flat washer, and we'll bolt our side bracket to the front cross member. And we'll follow that up with a flange nut. Okay, now we'll bolt our 2 side plates together using an 1.5 inch long bolt, lock washer, flat washer, and a flange nut. We'll do this for both of those holes. Okay, now we're going to install our hardware for our rear brace. So we'll take our pull wire, go through this hole here, and move it towards the driver's side of our truck frame. And we'll work it through our frame until it gets into this part of the frame right here. We'll reach in through this pocket here, grab the wire. Okay, now that we have it through that hole, we'll take our block, stick it on the wire, push it in the frame, followed by a carriage bolt, which we'll just screw onto the wire, push that inside. Now I'll pull it all the way through. We'll move our pull wire, and we'll repeat the same process for the other side. Now we'll take our rear frame brace, slide it up, and we'll secure it onto our installed carriage bolts with our flange nuts. With our brace in place, we can install our final 2 bolts for our center section on the rear cross member using our bolt, lock washer, and a flat washer. Now we'll tighten down our nuts here for our rear brace. First, using a 15/16 socket. Now we'll torque those nuts the amount specified in the instructions. Okay, now we'll tighten up the bolts for our rear cross member and center section. Okay, now we'll torque those bolts. Okay, now we'll snug down our front rail bolts to our center section. Now we'll torque those bolts. Okay, now we'll need to tighten down our U-bolt. And when we do that, we want to make sure that we do it in an alternating fashion as evenly as possible. Same goes when we're torquing these. We want to make sure that we alternate as much as possible. We'll go ahead and torque our driver's side the same way. Now we'll tighten and torque our 2 bolts here that hold our plates together on the driver's side. Okay, now our axle vent tube, we need to clip back onto the frame in a different spot. So we'll go up to our cross member here, and we'll just clip it into the frame. Okay, now we need to drill a pilot hole for our safety chain loops, which will be through these holes right here. We're using the outer ones in our application because these are the lower part of our bed corrugation. We just want to make sure we drill through the middle of the lower part of your bed corrugation. We're starting with a small drill bit just to make a pilot hole. We'll do the same for the other side. All right, now we'll use the step bit to enlarge our holes to a 1/2 inch in diameter. Now, just like before, we'll use some clear coat around our holes to prevent rust. And we'll drop down our U-bolts. Now underneath, we'll slide on a flat washer, our spring, a second flat washer, and then our nylon lock nut. Both sides of the U-bolt are the same way. Now we'll tighten our nuts until they're flush with the bottom of the U-bolt. Now I'll repeat the same process for the other U-bolt. Now on our driver's side of our truck, we made a mark according to the instructions that we need to trim out on our bed flange here so our handle can be inserted. Let's use a rotary tool to do this. Okay, with that cut out, we'll use clear coat again. Now, your kit will come with 2 handles. You'll have one that came with the bracket side and one that comes with the gooseneck head itself. You'll need to make sure you use the one that comes with your brackets, which is the longer handle. So we'll slide that in and insert it into the hole in our gooseneck head. Okay, here's where our handle comes through. This is our double pin mechanism which secures our ball into place. This hole here, we want to have facing up. Slide that into our gooseneck head. Take our spring, slide it over the shaft of the handle, then slide the handle into our pin. Then we'll secure it with the provided bolt and nut. And we'll tighten the bolt and nut down using a 7 and an 8mm socket. Now we'll reinstall our exhaust. Before we reinstall our driver's side wheel liner, I made a mark where we need to trim out so our handle has a spot to pass through so we can operate it smoothly. Let's use a rotary tool again to cut that out. Now that we have our panels reinstalled, we can reinstall our tires. Now in some cases you may have interference with your tire when your vehicle is on the ground with the handle. So in order to change that, just turn your handle 180 degrees so it points straight up when it's in the fully retracted and locked position. And that completes our look at and installation of the CURT Double Lock Flip and Store Underbed Gooseneck Hitch with installation kit, part number C60730 on our 2013 Ram 50.
Thanks for watching, and click the link in our description below to shop, learn more, or visit us at Etrailer.com. And leave us a comment if you have any questions.